Welcome to Parenting in a Tech World, a podcast that aims to help you make sense of raising kids in the digital age. The PEW Research organization released its latest survey data on teens and tech use in October 2024, and the results are super eye-opening. More than 1,300 kids aged 13 to 17 responded honestly to questions about their favorite platforms, how much time they spend on them, all broken down with fascinating statistics and demographics. This data contains real info about how kids are actually handling technology and social media, free from what parents may think or wish is happening.
All right, so, every year we put out our annual report based on all the data that we collect, which last year was over 5.6 billion data points. Another great source of data for parents to reference when it comes to kids and technology use, social media use is the PEW Research that they put out every year, and they just released this in October of 2024. So what do you think the number one platform teens are using is, like, currently?
Well, so before I saw the report, my guess would have been TikTok.
Yeah.
But now that I have seen it and I know the answer, it makes sense. And it's YouTube. Like, yeah, absolutely. Of course it's YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? So that actually always surprises me that teens use YouTube as much as they do. Because I'm just not a YouTube user, but I guess I'm also not a part of their generation.
Wow.
But why do you think teens are so drawn to YouTube?
Well, YouTube is to them what Google was like to us. Like, remember that feeling of being like, wait a minute, I can go to this place and ask something, anything in the world, and get a million answers?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Well, and that was before Google had videos and images and everything. It was just text-based stuff, right? So now you have YouTube, which is a part of Google.
Yep.
And it gives you video-based information on anything you want to know about, right? And they have gamified their algorithm. They've incorporated shorts, to compete with TikTok and Instagram. Literally everything in the entire world that you could possibly want to know has been uploaded and curated there in video form. So it makes sense.
Yep.
I'm surprised. Actually, I'm not surprised that you and I don't spend more time there because we have so much that we're doing.
Right.
But if we had as much free time as a teenager, I think you and I would both be there so much more.
Yeah. I do have a friend who uses YouTube tutorials for everything. Like, she can fix anything because all she does
100%.
is go. And I'm like, for me, I still don't think I could do it because I don't think I have the patience, but it's a big source of information and guidance for a lot of people.
Yeah. You need an oil change? Bring me your car on YouTube.
Yeah,
I've got it.
Exactly. Those are the things she's fixing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you thought it might have been TikTok, which is...
It's up there.
It's up there, along with Instagram and Snapchat.
Yeah.
Used roughly the same amongst teens. If you had to give one big thing that each parent should know about each platform, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, what's the first thing you would say?
Wow. Okay. So the first thing I would say about TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat is that just because their terms of service say you need to be 13 years of age or older to use the site, the app, whatever, doesn't mean the first day your child turns 13, you should say, hey, here you go. It's not the same thing as like a driver's license, right? Some kids aren't ready to drive a car even at 16. And most children are not ready for social media at 13, period. So I would say that the first thing that comes to mind when I think about these apps is to delay. Please, please, please delay. We have so much evidence now to support the fact that children who access these platforms later on in life are healthier physically and mentally. So delay. Now, I realize that ship has sailed for a lot of families.
Yep.
Some parents don't feel comfortable saying, hey, I made a mistake and we need to dial this back. We're taking it away entirely, yada, yada, yada. I get it. So when it comes to TikTok, I would say you need to know that the algorithm is one of the most addictive algorithms that exist on planet Earth. There's a reason why adults and children alike will go there thinking they're just going to watch one or two videos that their friends sent them, and then 30 minutes to an hour later, they're like, what just happened?
I actually read something maybe I saw it on TikTok, where your time disappears in the top search, like the top bar of your phone. The time goes away, so you don't know how much time you're spending. And I haven't confirmed that for myself because I'm too afraid to know if that's the truth.
GTFO.
But if it is, it's almost like how in a casino there's no clocks
or windows.
Yeah, so you just lose track of time. So it makes perfect sense why it works the way it does.
Hundo P.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. And because the algorithm is so addictive, it's not just a matter of your children losing time on this planet to this app, which is our most precious resource, but it's what they are being shown. And if your children have a propensity to, say, be self-conscious about their weight or anything, if they hover over, click on, watch, search certain terms, that algorithm is going to show them more and more of something that can turn a child who's uncomfortable with something into a child who now has a disordered related something with that something.
Yep.
If they're struggling with their mental health, maybe they're a little bit depressed or left out, it unfortunately could push them further down that path of being acutely depressed or perhaps struggling with suicidal ideation. There, you don't have to, don't take my word for it. Go to the Google and Google how these algorithms are negatively impacting children.
Yep.
So if you allow your child to use TikTok, please make sure you have time limits set. Make sure they're not accessing it behind closed doors, in their bedrooms, overnight, etc. Watch it with them,
Yeah.
So anyway, we could and probably will do a whole episode on TikTok,
Yeah.
but I'm going to move on to
100%.
Instagram. Yeah. And, what's interesting is that there's something called feature creep, which is essentially one app launches a feature that's super popular, so all the other apps launch it to compete. So while TikTok used to be the only place to watch these like fast-moving, highly engaging videos, well, Instagram and Snapchat and YouTube integrated that same sort of video feature feed very quickly.
Yeah.
And so certain features are now available across all the apps. So there really is a lot of blurred line. There really are a lot of blurred lines. We need to ask Haley. Is or are? Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a podcast. So yeah, Instagram. I would say Instagram will contribute more towards FOMO. Again, based on the research. And it's important to note that the team at Meta who owns Instagram knows that their algorithm and content is harmful for children in certain ways when it comes to that comparison trap. So again, limit the time. Know that whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever, anybody can message your child if you don't have the right precautions set up, which means predators, bullies, scammers, sextortionists. Disappearing messages and photos don't really disappear. A lot of them will promote the fact that, you can send this and it'll just go away. And that is not true.
Definitely not.
There is a server that will hold on to info at all of these entities, right? And maybe it disappears after 30 days, but it doesn't just immediately disappear.
Yeah.
People can take screenshots. Some of the platforms will let you know that happened. Some of them won't. Also, if children are in a group, the person sitting beside them can take a picture of what's on the screen, and you will not get an alert that a screenshot has been taken. So, yeah, TikTok, super addictive. You will lose time. Instagram, a lot of comparison trap. A lot of teens report feeling worse about themselves after spending time there. So it's important to help your child curate their feed of like, let's only follow and look at uplifting content, educational content, etc. Also, sorry, like this is a whole thing, but like back to TikTok, if you look at what the Chinese government allows children in their country to access, it's very different than what American children are allowed to access. I'm not like a conspiracy theorist. This isn't like a pro-America, anti-Chinese thing. It's just facts.
Yeah.
Look it up, right? So anyway, if you are a Chinese parent of a Chinese child that uses TikTok in China, your kids are seeing science and math content, and they aren't allowed to be on it for a very long time.
Wow.
Probably a reason for that. So anyway, now let's talk about Snapchat. It's just the worst.
It really is.
Just the worst. It's the worst.
I used to have Snapchat back in college, and I got rid of it many years ago. And then for the purposes of testing and getting and having screenshots available for our team to use, I downloaded Snapchat on my Bark phone, my test phone, and I had no clue how to even move around on it anymore. I was like,
so
"What?"
glad you said that.
I was like, "What are all these new things?" Like, there's like the video feeds that you were mentioning, like.
For my eyes only.
Yeah, I was
Where
so
the hell
confused.
did Snap Maps go?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how to work this app anymore. So
Feature creep.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They keep adding new things. It's not intuitive.
No,
at least not to people of a certain age and stage in life.
Yes.
But whatever. You know, there's so much to say about Snapchat. It deserves its whole own episode. But the reason that I am so vocally upset with and against Snapchat is, I guess, probably primarily because they have blatantly refused to work with third-party parental control and safety solutions. Blatantly. They know how many children are being harmed on their platform, and they have decided that they'll roll out their own safety center. Quote,
Yeah.
safety center. That is BS. It doesn't actually do anything. So there's that. It's ridiculous. Children are encouraged to use like the speed filters. You know, when is it ever okay to encourage children to be using phones while driving? It's not okay.
Yeah, never.
And also, Sam, let me ask you a hypothetical question. When do you think it's okay to encourage children to send disappearing nudes to each other of one another? Like, when is that okay? And when should that be encouraged?
Gonna go with never.
Yeah. Well, so that's crazy, right? Because
Yeah.
that's Snapchat's premise.
Yeah.
It was launched, after the Anthony Weiner scandal. Like, oh man, maybe he wouldn't have gotten in so much trouble if he would use Snapchat.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's one of the most popular apps with our children. And they are knowingly facilitating the transmission of CSAM, child sexual abuse material, every single day, all day long. Now, is every snap that a child sends or receives a nude? No. I'm not saying that if your child uses Snapchat, that bad things will 100% happen every day. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying that they can't authentically connect with their friends there. Like, I'm really not trying to be like an all or nothing Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
But you have to know that this is happening, the rate at which it's happening. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm adequately explaining right now how bad it is. How am I doing, Sam?
You're doing great. It's what's sad is that there's so many more things that you still haven't touched on when it comes to Snapchat, like the ability and the ease for kids to get drugs and drug dealers using SnapMap to connect with these kids, and that those drugs being laced with fentanyl or whatever else it might be, and kids dying of overdoses because of drugs that they got via an app. It's when you were talking about, that they're blatantly saying, we'll do this on our terms, we don't really care. Having seen them sit in a courtroom filled with parents who are holding pictures of their children who have died of an overdose or by suicide because of Snapchat explicitly, and there's just zero emotion on their faces. They don't think that they've done anything wrong, and it's like, you just can't have a heart and sit there like that.
Where's your humanity?
Yeah.
Is what I want to say to Evan Spiegel.
Yes.
Who is also a dad, So Evan, if, let's talk. If you want to talk through this, let's do it.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening anytime soon because I've been on email threads with you, sir, that you have clearly stated, how you feel about things. I'll just leave it at that. I pulled up, I knew there was something powerful I was missing, and this was reported by multiple credible outlets. I'm just going to quote the New York Post, And it says that Snapchat favored by child predators who use sextortion to get explicit images of minors. Like, that's a damning headline.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the many things that is happening. Senator Marsha Blackburn said that Snapchat is a child predator's dream. NPR said that Snapchat brushed aside warnings of child harm that, according to documents, sextortion, sexual exploitation, sale of drugs and weapons, like
the list goes on.
Yeah, like you would not let your child go to a physical place where all this was happening.
Right.
So why are you letting them use this digital place in private?
Yeah. It's
yeah.
Just
no.
Yeah, I was just say no to Snapchat.
Yeah, just say no to Snapchat until they start to work with us.
Yeah. Yeah, please. We kind of touched on a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
So, across all of these 5 platforms, that's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook is included, 1/3 of teens use these sites, what they say, almost constantly.
Wasn't that heartbreaking to read?
Yeah.
I remember seeing this and thinking, like, how did that become one of the buckets?
Options?
Yeah, the options.
Yeah.
It's like almost constantly. Like before social media, what did kids used to do almost constantly?
Play outside.
Right? Right? It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's absolutely heartbreaking. I mean, 15% said they used YouTube almost constantly. 16% said they used TikTok almost constantly. 12% for Instagram, 13% for Snapchat, and then 3% for Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook's not high up there.
Not shocking.
Yeah, not surprising at all. It's just crazy to think, and I say this often because I have cousins who are like 13, or no, gosh, they're like 16 and 15 now. And the world that they live in is so wildly different than the one I grew up in. And so, like, I always say I can't imagine being a parent of a teen today by any means. I also just can't imagine being a teen today. Like, if me, an adult, falls victim to the comparison traps. I actually have a friend who texted me the other day and said, I'm taking a break from Instagram because it's not benefiting me. It's actually, I had 2 friends tell me that. They're like, it's doing more harm than it is good. And so I can't imagine that teenagers who are still kind of developing and, growing, how they're navigating any of that. So it is sad to think that almost constantly is an option that they can choose when it comes to how much they're using an app or how much they're online.
It's not okay. I mean, if I had unlimited time on this planet, I wish I could go back to school and become a doctor so that I could have, PhD after my name, or Dr. Jordan. So I could be like, Dr. Jordan says this is not good for kids.
Right.
Right. Because then people might listen to me more.
Yeah.
I'd go back to school and become a lawyer so that I could fight, these companies that are harming kids and currently have no liability because of outdated laws. Like, there's so many things that I wish I could do, but, I think working for Bark and having this podcast is a good step.
Yeah, definitely in the right direction.
I want to point out a few more things from this survey.
Yeah.
1/4 of teens said they use WhatsApp. It's up 6 percentage points since 2022. Important for us to all know that WhatsApp is owned by Meta, and it's end-to-end encrypted. So it's a great tool for, talking to people, in other countries.
Yep.
Like, I use it to talk to my family overseas. But if anything, let's say, bad happens there, again, it has disappearing messages. It has the ability to share photos and videos. And Meta essentially has plausible deniability now for anything that happens there because of the end-to-end encryption. It's like they're saying, this is between the users. It's not on us. We have no liability. So just know that if your kids are on that app and they're talking with people they don't know there, that's where it can really escalate.
Meta really does whatever it takes to protect themselves and no one else.
That's a soundbite. And then 14% of teens use Reddit, which I get it. Like if I was a teen, I would be all over Reddit. One thing that I think is important to talk with your kids about on Reddit is, it's very easy to read all of the comments and like believe it as the truth. But you have to remember that you don't know who those people are. They could be lying to you.
Yeah.
They might have ulterior motives. They might just be messing with you because they're bored.
Yeah.
So like, I can't tell you how many times I've gone down a Reddit rabbit hole and been like, okay, I'm going to listen to what these people are saying about whatever topic, but know that this hasn't been backed by research and this is some stranger on the internet that I don't know if I can trust or not.
Right.
So it's a data point. It's not the truth.
Yeah.
And then finally, Threads.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. Only 6% of teens report using it. And honestly, that's just because it's so heavily cross-promoted on Instagram.
Yeah. Well, and I think, too, we were kind of like forced to do it at first. Like we didn't really have an option. Everyone was just like, oh, we're just doing Threads now.
I guess we're on Threads now.
Yeah. And then it just completely died.
And what's crazy, Big Threads is so similar to X, which used to be Twitter. They don't even talk about this here, do they? I don't see anything about X on here. Well, I mean, there's something in the graph, the chart, but it's like
a small percentage.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I would say, even 5 years ago, Twitter was more widely used by teens.
Yeah,
so interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting to see how things have changed over the years. And I already said this, but the YouTube thing just really, really surprises me. But the way you explained it makes it make perfect sense.
Now listen to this. Like I know we touched on this a few minutes ago, but I really want to reiterate, and maybe this is another like soundbite we use for social, because while we are blasting social media, we use social media to promote our things and own it, right? Own it. It's a blessing and a curse. It's a tool.
100%.
Yeah. So nearly half of teens say they are online almost constantly, up from 24% a decade ago.
That's crazy.
It's not okay. It is not healthy. It's not okay. We have got to reverse the trend, period. And this one, which is not as bad because you don't know what they're using it for, but overall, nearly all teens, 96%, report using the internet daily. And I get it. It's a lifeline, but it's a nice reminder to all of us that we all need a break. We all need to take a break from screens. We don't always have to be hyper-connected all the time.
All right. So that's a lot.
It's a lot, Sam.
And we really only hit the tip of the iceberg with that. There's so much more that parents can take away from the PEW Research report. If you had to say what your biggest takeaway is from reading all of that, discussing all of that, what would it be?
This is like my Mr. Rogers neighborhood moment where I'm like changing my sweater and tying my shoes. It's like, bring it in.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. If you don't know who Mr. Rogers is, just Google it. My biggest takeaway is gratitude that this study is helping us all to realize that how did we get here moment. There's so many times when I think in life we're like, how did we get here? And you realize if you could go back in time, you would have done things differently.
Right.
And it's really brought to the forefront the fact that hindsight's 20/20. So you can either choose to take action or you can follow the crowd and surf the crowd and see where you end up. I don't recommend the latter. I recommend you pay attention to this. You look at where humanity has lived and thrived up until about 15 years ago and try to implement some of the best practices from that. You don't have to become, a Luddite. No offense to Luddites. You don't have to be completely tech-free and no internet and no tech, but you got to have more balance. We have swung the pendulum way too far to the side of unfettered, unmonitored, unprotected access, and our children are being harmed because of it, physically and mentally. So let's dial it back a little bit. Let's get some balance. Let's pay attention. Let's talk to our kids about this report. Be like, hey, this is kind of wild.
Yeah.
Feel free to use analogies. Like, for example, My grandparents, they listened to like Frank Sinatra, you know, and like some really cool, jazzy, classy people. And all of a sudden, my parents, you know, they're listening to Black Sabbath and like Def Leppard and Led Zeppelin, a little edgier lyrics, right? And there were some people that were like, oh, this rock and roll stuff, it's of the devil, you know? And it's like, well, no, but like, let's get some balance here. Like, music is not bad. Musical tastes change. But if you're constantly being inundated with drug, alcohol, sexual references, you might be more inclined to engage in or pursue that kind of lifestyle, because what you let into your body visually, auditorily, what is it? Audibly, whatever you hear, whatever you eat, whatever you breathe, like it affects you, and media is no different. So just be mindful of the media that your child is consuming. Make sure that there's a balance. Pay attention to the macro trends, and be the parent that does something about it and doesn't just sit passively by and saying, well, everybody's doing it, I don't want my kid to be left out, because you do want your kid to be left out of all the bad that comes from it, and they will be better off for it if you do. Well, that's our episode for today. Until next time, may your screen time goals not be exceeded, and may your parental controls stay 2 steps ahead.